Welcome to the Personal Brand Era podcast. I'm your host, Ella Ray, and today I'm talking with Heather Rose, a Facebook specialist. And I'm very excited to talk with you today, Heather. You are focused on organic marketing strategies, and you are helping small business owners increase visibility, engagement, and sales for 5 years now. And you are super passionate about helping others, and you love seeing people not just succeed, but thrive. And the very first question, Heather, that I would love to ask you is, what inspired you to become a Facebook specialist? And why do you call Facebook your baby?
Oh, great question. Firstly, thank you for having me here today. Super excited to be here. So what inspired me? So, great question. I think numerous things, three things really. I think through my journey of entrepreneurship, I've done other previous businesses that have had ones that have failed, ones that have been successful, and I've learned lots about social media and Facebook along the way. And I just become very passionate about how you can grow a successful business organically on Facebook. And I think my passion then just wanted to help as many other people understand the platform as possible. And I think people don't utilize it till its full potential. And then the second reason I think was because through my journey of entrepreneurship as well, I've been to lots of other like training seminars, courses, and I used to come away feeling probably more confused and very
Hmm.
overwhelmed. I felt like people could teach, but they didn't actually teach them what to go away with bite-sized chunks, how to implement it into your own business going forward. And I thought, if I feel like this, how many other people are feeling like this?
Hmm.
And then I think it was the crunch then was we had COVID, and so many people then, were having to pivot their business and be more online presence. And people were just really struggling to use social media. So I launched Pink Fizz Social 15 months ago. Obviously, I was teaching social media before that, but in a different remit. And I just needed to, I think, there was just something missing out there that there was nobody teaching it in simple terms. So that's why Pink Fizz Social was born, really, so I could fill in that gap, teach people it in simple terms, and help people grow their business using Facebook and social media. And the reason I call it my baby is because I'm just super passionate about Facebook. I just love the platform. I love how you can grow really great communities, and I love Facebook groups. That is my thing that I'm most passionate about, is Facebook groups, because it's all about building, that like, know, and trust factor with your audience, which you can do really, really well in a Facebook group, which I don't believe any of the other platforms out there you can really do what you can do on Facebook.
That is very true. I very much agree with that. I also love Facebook groups and the types of communities that you build on there. And you mentioned now that you established Pink Fizz Social, and I notice your hair is pink and your website is all pink. And I want to know, as a color specialist, what is the story behind your love for pink?
Oh, how long have you got, Ella? This is a big story, really. But just very quickly, in a nutshell, obviously, I've always loved the pink, the colour pink. Always loved it. And through my life, I've been really, really bullied. It wasn't till about 7 years ago that I came out and decided to just be me. I was bullied from high school. I was in mental abusive relationships. I'd been raped as a teenager,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and goals. So all my life I've had some kind of bullying and mental abuse where I felt like I was shoved in a box and told that you can't do this, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never become anything. And sort of I became, obviously I wasn't never to be myself. So it was like about 8 years ago that I decided enough was enough. I had my enough is enough moment, and I took back control of my life, and I decided to break out of that box and be the pink bombshell that I wanted to be, bright, bubbly, and yeah, conquer the world.
Full of life and very feminine and bright and colorful. And Thank you so much for sharing this, and I'm absolutely sorry that you had to go through all of this, which is very familiar to my story. Um, and I find it very brave and courageous of all women, and for you as well, that you took the strength and the courage not to bow down to these things that have happened to you, but you come out strong and you build yourself up again. And this takes so much strength and so much courage and bravery to stand against those things, and especially as a woman, to build yourself back up again and to go ahead and to serve others in similar ways, which I know you do with your work. So I really love that story. Thank you for sharing it. You are offering Facebook audits. That's what I noticed on your website, which I love because I love auditing my clients' stuff as well. And what is one major mistake that people are doing on Facebook specifically when it comes to visibility?
Oh, that's a good one. Good one. Probably got a few answers to that actually. I think the main one really is not being consistent. People think that they're being
Mm,
consistent, but they're really not being consistent, really. And I think the second one I'll share too there. I think the other bigger one really would be people are just not sharing themselves enough. They're not sharing them. They're hiding behind the business. They're hiding behind the product or service that they're selling. And I strongly, I always teach this. You've got to share yourself. You've got to be a bit vulnerable on social media. You've got to become relatable to your audience. People need to build that like, know, and trust factor with you. And if you're just there, just selling, you're not building that trust with your audience and that, and that rapport. So I think those are the two biggest ones that I've come across: people not being consistent enough and not sharing themselves enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like that is absolutely in my alley as well. That I see, especially right with not showing up as yourself, not being your authentic self, not being loud enough. When many people are starting out, female coaches, for example, they are so quiet and so tiny. I try this blip. Let's see what happens. And then you kind of have to teach them like to really be very confident and loud enough, not too loud. You don't have to scream on top of your lungs, but loud enough so that your dream clients can actually hear you, can see you, can feel your confidence, can feel your expertise without you being overly salesy, right? And I totally agree. Visibility is so important, being consistent with who you are, right? With the person that you are. And not necessarily the product that sometimes people try to make of themselves.
No, definitely. You've got to be authentic. And I think that's one of the biggest things. People compare themselves too much as well. And they start delivering that in their way of content because they're trying to be like everybody else and not being the true, authentic self. And I think that's really important in social media. And that's how, I've grown a successful business now, is by just being me on social media. And I say that just be you, be authentic. People will fall in love with that. You will find your tribe. You don't have to compare yourself and try to be what everybody else is, because no one is you.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say that engagement goes also into that same direction, that these are the main cornerstones of engagement, being yourself? Or would you say there are other aspects that also drive engagement on social media?
There's lots of things. I think storytelling is a really good thing that you need to be doing on social media. That's a great way of getting yourself across there, is telling stories, whether that's your own personal journey or clients and customers' journeys. But telling stories, find a way of what you want to get across there, but find a way of sharing it as a story. People invest more in stories and will engage more when you're trying to tell them a story. So I think storytelling is really crucial on social media. Other things as well is, I think you got to engage in conversation. It was one of
Yeah.
my Words is conversation. I think people love to, I always call it post and run. They post something and then run away and hope that it does the magic that they want it to do. And they're not creating those conversations. And you have to put, obviously, content out there in between all the other content to create those conversations. Because if you're not asking questions or putting those interactive posts out there, people are not going to see the other content that you put out there. So conversations is super important. And I think a lot of content that people put out there, they're not putting like hook lines or call to actions on anything. So you're not dragging your audience in to get that engagement. I think, you've got to have a hook line, which is like your title at the top, a catchy title. It's like 0.6 of a second to get people to stop that scroll now. So it's, if your posts are not getting engagement, ask yourself why. Have I put a catchy title at the top? Am I making my content stand out? Is my graphic, does it stand out for people to want to look at? And call to action is a big one. Are you telling people what you want them to do on your post? Because some people will just read and then scroll on past because you're not asking them to do what you want them to do. So do you want them to comment with something? Do you want them to click a link? Do you want them to share your content? Asking them questions. Was this relatable? Did you find this tip useful? Out of the 5 tips I've just shared, which was your favorite? So you asking them a question, so they're gonna then comment because you're telling them what you want them to do. You want them to answer a question, and that helps your engagement massively.
Yes, I think so too. Basically, you have to be interested in 3 things. You have to be interested in yourself, in your own growth. Meaning, if you are not raving and obsessed about your own niche, like what are you doing? Right? You gotta be obsessed about your own stuff that you're doing. You gotta be kind of curious every day when you wake up. You have to like think, what can I find out new today about my niche? What can I do better? What is out there, right? To really grow yourself, your own mental space and your own expertise and knowledge. You got to be obsessed about that. Otherwise, like, you cannot expect your audience to be obsessed about your stuff if you are not obsessed yourself, And then you got to be obsessed about your clients. You got to be obsessed about their results. You got to be so deeply interested in their success that you will naturally ask questions, right? That you will naturally post content that people will love, and they will love to be engaged in this, right? And you also got to be obsessed about your product. Obviously, you have to put in so much work in your product. Not saying that you have to work like 100 hours before it's perfect. It does not have to be perfect, but it has to be good enough, right? You have to be so invested in your product that you 100% know this is something that XYZ client will absolutely need, and I have to talk about it, right? This is so important that I have to talk about this every day, right? In whatever form you choose, right? And you said something very important: stories, right? I absolutely agree with that. Why else have like Game of Thrones and all the movies that we know? Why are they so successful? Because they have a storyline, right? They have a certain structure that authors and movie makers and script writers are using on purpose because they know human psychology, how to keep the person viewing the movie, right? And I would add another thing that I love to deliver to my clients, which is music. Nowadays, it's so important when you're producing videos or even simple post videos, right? Not even talking yourself. Music is really a major part in what plays for visibility and engagement. Right, it can also really ramp up your reach, right? Once people are hooked into the type of music that you are using in your videos. And I'm not talking about trending music or your favorite music or anything, but really brand aligned music that will really drive your content and will burn in the memories of the people, right? So I'm totally obsessed about music. Obviously, as a big part of driving your visibility, engagement, and conversions. And what would you say is one of the biggest factors that drive sales on Facebook? We've talked about visibility, engagement, and what are the factors for sales? Because many people are struggling with distinguishing their content for visibility, for engagement, and then for sales.
I think sales, you've got to remember you're selling the solution to the problem. So you've got to make sure that comes across in your content, that you are telling your audience what is the solution you can provide. Because at the end of the day, whatever they're buying into you, whether it's a product or a service or court, whatever it is, they're wanting a solution to something. So they're coming with some kind of problem. So it's about what solutions you can solve. And then it just falls into, really, with sales on Facebook, really is down to the visibility, being consistent, showing up, being authentic, sharing the stories, sharing your passion, sharing your excitement. If that's not coming across in your messaging, then nobody else is going to get excited either. And it's about, with sales as well, people just are not posting enough sales posts. And I think they get scared because I've just done a sales post this week. But then they don't realise that probably a very small percentage have only seen that post. And, where it used to be 7 to 12 times points of contact people needed to see before they invested, since COVID, it's now actually 22 points of contact.
Yeah.
So I think somebody's got to see something now 22 times before they even click or invest in whatever it is that you're selling. That's a lot of content. And I'm not just saying that's just posts that comes across in your stories and your reels and everything else that you're doing, but just people are just not posting enough. Like some of the audits I've done recently, I've gone back and said, where's your sales posts? They've done one like in 2 weeks. And I'm like, if you're not selling, how do people know what you've got to offer? And people are scared. And I just said, well, you do your audience a disservice. This is how I switched my. I didn't used to like selling. I found it very icky, and that's something I had to work on personally. And I think since I switched my mindset round and thought about, well, holding this knowledge back or holding this service back that I can help somebody with, I'm actually doing a disservice. I am stopping from people growing their business or being able to, understand Facebook or make extra sales by holding this back. So me not doing that sales post is potentially, holding back my dream, really, of helping people. So I think you've got to really work on that mindset, isn't it? And it's not icky. You're actually helping people do X, Y, and Z, or you're doing a service that's going to help them do X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I think it's working on that mindset, posting more sales posts, not being spammy with your sales post. It's sharing the benefits, and selling the solution to the problem, and just being consistent.
Yeah, that's mostly what I also see being the problem, not being consistent enough with how many times people actually sell, so to speak. And because for my particular clients being female coaches, my observation is that women tend to not like the selling part. And maybe that's kind of a historical thing, that we have not been in this space as long as men have been. And maybe that's even a biological thing, that we are kind of a group creature and not kind of a directional creature. We tend to like share things without expecting much, this motherly instinct, right? At least that's what I feel from my side. Like, it has been very difficult for me to start selling in a way and that I see men do, right? And the funny thing, or the sad thing at the same time, is that we cannot sell like men, right? We cannot use the same tactics like men to sell, especially if our target audience are women. And I get a lot of backlash when I talk about this. Many women don't want to hear about it, right? They don't want to hear about it. They want to be like men, right? And in this Western society, so to speak. Do you see any similarities? Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, I think over here in the UK, especially, I think women are really struggling with that self-belief and that they're good enough. And I
Mm.
think that's something a lot of I'm finding are having to work on is that self-belief and that they're not good enough. And I think it's massive, and it's really sad to see sometimes. It's like share it's you want to share it them and say you can do this, you've got so much potential, and you're amazing at what you do, but just it's hard for women to see sometimes. I think they're worried about what people are going to say, and well, what about if such a person says that, or they might not have a supportive family behind them or a partner, which obviously hinders their self-belief as well. So yeah, I think I do see that a lot over here, definitely.
And I would love to know, you come across as very confident. I'm sure you had your times when, and you have talked about that in the beginning, where you had struggled with your self esteem and self confidence. And who inspired you in life to become that confident? Did you have kind of a person that gave you the direction, the guidance, the strength in your personal life, but as well in business life?
No, not really. I would say my drive has always been my why, to be honest. I think my true inspiration really came from when I had my son. Really, he's 15 now. So I really took myself obviously serious and being an entrepreneur serious when obviously my son came here. I always say my son came to save me. I strongly
Mm.
I lost 5 babies before. Well, altogether I've lost 5 babies. So before
Oh,
Isaac,
sorry about that.
I'd lost 3 before Isaac, and they told me I would never conceive, I would never have a baby. Even through the pregnancy of Isaac, from day one, I was always in and out of hospital, and they said, you're not going to carry him to the end. He's not going to survive, and he did. So I always believe that he came to save me, and I think he's always been my biggest inspiration and what drives me now to be the better person and to be strong and confident is to show him now that anything is possible. He has special needs, he's got ADHD and autism, and I think my full drive and passion and inspiration was him, is to show him what's possible in life.
I see that so many times when I talk to women who might have miscarriages or had other problems with pregnancies. Like, doctors can be so discouraging, right? Instead of giving you hope. Uh, and they have to see their own boundaries, honestly, and they have their boundaries. It's not like they are almighty God, they know everything. They make so many mistakes, and it's so sad for me to see that they don't find the strength and the courage in such a vulnerable time of a woman when she's pregnant to give her the strength, not to tell her any kind of bad news, right? What's the sense of that? What's the use of that, right? But really to gather up the strength themselves to give strength so that the mother gets that strength and produces something, right? And if we look closer into frequencies and energies and what that does, and the scientific revelations that we have about that, and the physical revelations that we have about that, should open up the eyes of many people to not let it die, so to speak, if there's any kind of problem during pregnancy or just in general for people with health, right? It's enormously sad for me to see. And I hope that this will change with everything that we know from neuroscience and from all the other physical uh, findings in recent years. I really hope that this will change and that women will be carried differently through society?
No, definitely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. There needs to be definitely some change and motivation and support for women out there. Definitely. I feel that it's a lot better than it was, I would say, but a lot of industries are still mainly led by men. And I think that stops women from coming out to be their true self. So yeah, I think it needs more women paving the way to show what's possible.
Not only that, not only open up the doors for women to be part of society and like shape the world and the future, but also do it their way, right? We have our own way of doing things, right? Without being judged or negated in any way. Oh, women are this and that, and this is bad for business or anything. But just letting us do the things how we would do them. Lead a business, for example, lead a team, lead a sales department, lead the graphics department, what have you, right? It doesn't matter. I think those doors need to be more open for people to introduce new ways of thinking. Otherwise, a society, I believe, cannot survive, right? And I would love to go back into your childhood, and I'm very curious to know, do you have any particular memory that was so awesome that you will never forget it, that shaped you significantly in positive or negative ways?
Great question. Mm, Ish. I do have a bit of a mental block on all my childhood. I don't know whether it's because of all the trauma that I've been through with various things. I don't tend to remember a lot of my childhood. However, what I would say to that is I always used to remember my mum and dad going out to work. My mum was a nurse, my dad was a firefighter. Um, and obviously, you know, their working ethic was something that inspired me. But one of the things what I wanted to do going forward is I didn't remember seeing very much of them. It was always like my grandparents that brought us up, which was fantastic. I had a great bond with my gran and granddad. But I always thought, going forward, that's what made me really want to look into being, my own boss, being an entrepreneur, because I wanted to be there for my children. I didn't want them to,
Mm.
I didn't want to miss out on a lot of their life either. Lots of things that my mum and dad must have missed out on because they had to go out to work to make the money and to pay the bills. I totally get that. But that's what made me really shape my future, I think, to want to be an entrepreneur, really, because I wanted to be there for my children and not miss out on any opportunities.
I really love that. It's so similar to me and my journey and my values. Okay, I have a ton of questions, but I love what you just said, that you want to be able to spend time with your kids, and thus you made different decisions than your parents. Did you experience any kind of challenges, in particular, being a mom and at the same time building a business, which was, as I understand, the goal to spend more time with your kid, but did it come true actually? Or what kind of challenges did you face to make it come true?
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of challenges being a mum in business. And I think for me, was finding that, that life work balance. That was really
Mm.
very, very difficult. Because you're wanting to build a business, but yet you've got your home life and your family life and your children. So I found that, quite difficult to navigate at first. But it's building that routine and putting those boundaries in place, which I think is really important in business, that you have those boundaries, that your clients and customers know those boundaries. And for me, time blocking was a game changer. Time blocking my day so I was more productive, rather than, getting sidetracked all the time. And then by the time, you wanted that family time, you was like, oh my God, yeah, I haven't done all my to-do list. So time blocking was a major factor for me. time blocking everything in my diary, from family life, meals times, things that I had to do, things, for Isaac and family, down to even scrolling time. I used to, before I created that nice habit, I used to schedule time just for scrolling in my diary. This is the time for scrolling. This is a set time for replying to comments on social media. This is a set time to reply to emails. I used to just time block everything. And that made me then get very, very productive with my time, and then get that life work balance. So you don't have to work all the hours that you think that you need to.
Yeah, that really asks for a lot of discipline, I feel, for you to actually realize that it is up to the management of. Now, you cannot really manage time, but you can only manage yourself, right? But how you manage yourself, really, it was also a big game changer for me as well. I'm a single mom of two, and it was very, very challenging for me to do the job of two and to be as quick as other people were to like achieve at least the same results, or to be able to keep up, right, with all the things. And at times I even feel like a robot a little bit, because it's so ingrained, the routine now, that yeah, sometimes people are laughing about me, but that's okay. I have to make life work for me, right? And every woman needs to kind of find her own rhythm, find her own beat, right? And not feel the urge or the stress to dance to another woman's beat, and especially with social media, it's I see that from clients, and it certainly has been difficult in the beginning for me when I first was introduced to social media, right? You see so many people, right? You are distracted, but at the same time, you are also inspired and motivated by them. And then you have to kind of go back a little bit and filter all that information, and to really ask yourself, what are the things that I've seen can I actually apply into my life without breaking my kids, just to achieve XYZ goal, right? That you might be aspiring to, without breaking yourself.
It's about owning it, isn't it? And owning it that you are your own person. I think, like you've just touched on, it's about that comparison again, isn't it? Is, as a mum, we're quick to compare ourselves to the other mums in the playground, or they've come to the playground with a full face of makeup and their hair done. How do they do? That makes me feel really bad. I'm turning up with, my hair not brushed and my jog pants on, and you do compare yourselves. And I think it's really important that as mums, we don't do that. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's owning who we are. We've all got different lives. We've all got different things going on in our lives. We can't have exact lifestyles of each other, and that's okay. And who relates to that mum in business who looks like she's got all her shit together, probably hasn't behind closed doors. It may look like it on the surface and on social media. And I think that's really important as well. As a mum in business, is we take social media for what it is. Yes, it can be very powerful. It's an amazing tool. We get it free of charge for once. The majority of social media is free. We're getting these platforms free to build our businesses, which is absolutely incredible. However, is taking social media also on the negative spin, is what you see sometimes on social media is not actually the reality, and you've got to remember that. So when you see in these pictures of people on yachts and that they've got all the shiz together and they've got this perfect lifestyle and 8-figure businesses, don't know what's going on really behind closed doors. So take, that kind of aspect of social media with a pinch of salt, and just stay in your own lane.
Yeah, that's really something that, and at some point I started to think that it's not even fault of social media necessarily, because it is the same like pinpointing or making guns being faulty, right? We need to ban all the guns, right? The discussion in the US currently, right? It's not really about the guns, I feel. It's really about the discipline of each and every person, and kind of the understanding of what happiness, for example, really looks like or what it really is, right? It's not having material things, and people are saying that all the time. And once people start to understand that it's not coming from external things, the type of happiness that we all are looking for, right? But at least that's what I have found in my life. And I've never been a materialistic person or anything, even though I value that, right? I love beautiful and luxury things. I cherish that. It's amazing what people can create and craft. I respect that. But I don't have to have this to achieve happiness, right? Because I have learned ever since I have my kids, the only type of happiness that we can truly have is the connection with another person. This is like, it makes time stop. It doubles, triples, and 10x's love and connection and fulfillment and passion and everything. So this is at least my view. This is the only way.
Love it.
What do you want to be remembered for, Heather?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think for just being unapologetically me. I think I would love to be remembered for that, and maybe for just helping change the world just that one little bit. I'd love to change the world on a massive scale, but unfortunately, one person can't do that. But I'd like to be remembered that I had an impact in the world somehow, and giving people the confidence to believe in themselves. I think that's one of my biggest missions. Is why I started sharing my story is to share to others that you can get through these tough times, and you can make a success of things, and if you can just believe in yourself, the magic can happen.
Absolutely true. And that we can, once we kind of come together, right? You said you cannot do it yourself. That's also my mantra, right? I would love to change the world in positive ways on a global scale, but I know exactly that I cannot do it, which is why I have dedicated myself to help coaches, because I know exactly if I help one coach, she is able to help maybe 20, maybe 100 people. And I was the fuel for that, right? And if I help 100 coaches, it is like a tree, right? It branches out more and more. So this is kind of my way of contribution and realizing that I cannot do it alone. And I think this we are circling back to Facebook groups. Like, we can build beautiful communities of women or men and women and just be together and make it happen together, right? Being a force as a group.
It's creating that domino effect, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And we can change the world.
Let's do it.
Yes.
If you could have dinner, Heather, with one famous person, who would you pick and what would you order? And what would you talk about?
Oh, that's a good one. A few people. It'd be between. Oh, I would say Stephen Bartlett. Absolutely, I think he is an inspiration. I love his story. Obviously, he's come from a social media background as well, so I would love to pick his brain on his thoughts on social media, and where he sees social media moving to in the future. I would love to see that, and just to pick his brains really on my own business. Yeah, I love the diary of a CEO. I think his podcast is incredible, really inspirational. And what would I pick to eat? Oh, anything seafood. I love seafood. So maybe steak and lobster, something like that. I would love, yeah, something like along those lines.
Awesome. I love it. I do also love his podcast. Just recently discovered him, I think, on YouTube. And like, the very first episode that I saw was so captivating. Like, the way he is obsessed about his niche, he is obsessed about his clients and the people that he's talking to, right? he's intrinsically interested in getting the best out of them and sharing the best of himself also. He's not holding back or anything. He's so honest and so authentic.
Actually saw him live. He was here in the UK in Manchester, and I went to see him live. The Diary of the CEO. It was on stage, and it was the most powerful thing I've ever been to. It was incredible. He shared his story, and oh, it was just amazing. He had a gospel choir, like going through with it. Oh, it was just incredible. It was, yeah. I dragged my husband along to it, and actually, he said, wow, thank you for bringing me to that, because that was just so captivating, so inspirational. You got the shivers, you were feeling pumped up as well. You felt that you could conquer the world.
I love that. And speaking about music, do you have any kind of favorite music genre, artist that you love to listen to right now?
No, not really. I like a mixture, really. I love the 80s, I love the 90s, I love the zeros. I love Pink. I love Pink's music. Some connection there. Pink. I love Take That. I love Robbie Williams. I love seeing Robbie in concert. Now he is a showman. He knows how to do a concert.
He does.
But then I love cheesy 80s, 70s music as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
I like a good mixture.
I love that. I saw on your website a project that you are involved in called Mindset and Me. I'm very curious about that one. Could you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, so that is my other business that I launched 5 years ago with my son Isaac. So we've both obviously been on a huge journey. Me, obviously, I'm a massive personal journey, conquering everything that I've been through. But then obviously, as I mentioned, Isaac's had his difficulties as well. He got diagnosed with ADHD and autism. And around about 6, 7 years ago now, he wanted to take his own life. We were told that there was a waiting list of 3 years here in the UK, which is absurd. And I was like, not on my watch. I have to do something myself as a mum, knowing also that I've been through similar to him as well. I need to help him. So I started practicing with him things that really helped me on my discovery and my journey and my mindset journey. So we started journaling together. We started doing positive affirmations. We started doing mindfulness activities. And we started, reading all about growth and fixed mindset. And yeah, I managed to transform the school he was going to at the time. Said, like, what are you doing, Heather? He's like a changed boy. And I went, oh yeah, I've just been working hard on his mindset. So lots of people were following our journey on social media. I was getting inboxes all the time, like, can you share what you've been doing? Can you help us? We're struggling as a family, or my child's struggling with this. So Isaac just turned around to me one day and said, we need to help these people, Mummy, what can we do? So we were regular sharing our story, but I thought, what more could we do than that? So we decided to launch our own products and resources, so to speak. So everything that we had been practicing and we'd made our own, we launched as products to help other people. So we launched our range of affirmation cards for children, which then led on to us launching teenager cards, because obviously they go through a lot of stress as well, through exams and peer pressure and bullying and all that kind of stuff that's out there, sadly. So we brought all them out. We brought our journal. We created our own journal. So everything that we were doing, we put into a book, and we launched that. And then since then, we've launched 2 children's books, all based on Isaac's journey. So we've got Isaac, the Master of Confidence, and Isaac, the Master of Emotions, which goes through his journey, how he struggled with those, and the tools and things that we've used to help him along his journey. So yeah, so that's Mindset and Me.
You are really an inspirational woman.
Oh,
I
thank you.
really love that. This can help so many moms to really take matters in their own hands. Like, especially when kids reach the teenage years, you kind of see what has been boiling and bubbling for years that they might not have been able to express when they were little. And now, even more, not wanting to express it, especially not to the parents, if especially if the connection and relationship is difficult, right? So this is absolutely needed, that we create things. We don't wait for anyone to solve these problems as you did. I celebrate you for that. Not waiting those 3 years, not looking for any kind of outside solution, but you gathered your own strength and wisdom to really do this. I love this. We need to share this. Like all the links to your products and to this particular project. I would really love to share that with my audience.
Thank you so much. I'm super grateful.
I'm very curious. I will definitely check it out. As my son is 12, reaching out into the teen years.
Good luck.
Thank you. Ah. Okay, last question. What do you enjoy the most when you're working with clients, and what is the major benefit that clients would have from working with you compared to, let's say, another Facebook specialist?
I love it when you can see the change in their face, when they've just got that light bulb moment and you can see their expressions change. You know that you've done your job. And then just following on from that is just seeing them grow and, what they turn the business into and the successes and, seeing their achievements. I love being on that journey with them and being their biggest cheerleader. You don't just come and work with me or attend a course or whatever it is and you just left. I am your biggest cheerleader throughout. And I love cheerleading people on, past, present clients. I love being their biggest cheerleader and seeing, what they can achieve once they have those tools and that knowledge to fly with. Makes a whole difference. Yeah, so I love that. And what they get from me really is, I say it as it is. I'm very authentic. I teach from the heart. I teach it in simple terms. I sort of hold people, not hold your hand as such, but I strip it back. I strip it back into simple terms so people can understand it, so people understand why it's needed, the benefits of doing what I'm trying to teach you to do, and then stripping it even further and showing you real steps on how to implement it into your own specific business and niche. Because I think some people get confused, like, well, that's all right for such a person and that kind of business, but how would I do that for my business? My business is a little bit different, so it's stripping that back and showing them ways of, well, yes, you can still do it for your business, and this is what I would do for your sector or your niche, and do it that way. So yeah, I like to be authentic and teach it real and teach it in, step-by-step instructions.
I love the simplicity part of it because that was at least my personal struggle when 4 years ago when I started with social media. I didn't even know what a subdomain was, and stuff like that. I had to learn everything from zero, like as a absolutely non-technical person. And what overwhelmed me the most was the level of difficulty and the level of expectation that comes with this business world or this niche, right? With the coaching niche and just in general online and internet stuff. Like the level that people expect you to know things, right? When you come into that space, nobody takes the time to actually, as you said, go back and strip it down and to make it as simple as possible, like first grade level. Because if someone really starts, it is like a child after all. no matter how old you are, when you're starting with something from ground up, from zero, you have to be talked to like to a child. So I really love that part, and this is one of the things that
In terminology that people understand as well, because a lot of people don't understand the tech, like you've just said. They don't understand some people's terminology, and it's going back to terminology that people actually understand.
absolutely, yeah. And where can people reach out to you, find you, and best contact you should they want to work with you?
I'm all over the socials, so you can find me. Pinkfizz.social is the website. You can find me obviously on Instagram and obviously Facebook, which I've got a free community group on there as well, where I'm sharing lots of free mini trainings and tips and things in that community group. So feel free to anybody come and find me there and hang about in my community.
And for my listeners, I will leave all the links to Heather's socials and her project Mindset and Me in the description, so you can check it all out and be part of her world and learn from her. Thank you so much, Heather. I had a blast really talking to you and getting to know you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being so brave and courageous.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.